Stephen Colbert has interviewed hundreds of celebrities over the years. Most of them smile, answer his questions, and promote their projects like good little guests. But last night, Timothée Chalamet broke that pattern in the most spectacular way possible. When Colbert kept pushing questions about Kylie Jenner and refused to talk about the actual film, something snapped. And what happened next is the kind of television moment that people will be talking about for years. This isn't clickbait. This isn't exaggerated. This is a complete meltdown caught on live TV. Make sure you're subscribed because we're breaking down every brutal second. First of all, do not forget to like and subscribe to our video, and you can write where you watched our video. The Late Show theme music faded as Stephen Colbert welcomed his guest with that trademark television smile. Timothée Chalamet settled into the chair, looking effortlessly cool in a black suit and white shirt. The audience erupted in applause. "Timothée, thank you so much for being here," Colbert began. "Dune Part 3 is finally here, and people are absolutely losing their minds." "Thanks for having me, Stephen," Timothée replied warmly. "It's been an incredible journey. Denis Villeneuve is a master, and working with him has been one of the greatest privileges of my career." The conversation started smoothly. Timothée discussed Paul Atreides' journey, the themes of power and prophecy, and the incredible cast. Everything seemed perfectly normal, but anyone watching closely might have noticed Colbert's impatience, the way he kept glancing at his notes, waiting for his moment. "That sounds incredibly deep," Colbert said, and there was something in his tone that shifted the energy. "But let's be honest, when you're not pondering destiny on set, you're pondering other things, right? Your personal life has been pretty interesting lately." Timothy's smile froze slightly. "I'm here to talk about Dune, Stephen." Of course, Colbert said quickly. "But your fans want to know about everything, and there's been quite a bit going on, hasn't there?" "I prefer to keep my personal life private," Timothée said carefully. "The work should speak for itself." Colbert leaned forward. "But you're a public figure. You can't just pick and choose what parts of your life you share with the people who made you famous." "Actually, Stephen, I think I can," Timothée replied, his voice sharpening. "Just because people enjoy my films doesn't mean they're entitled to every detail of my private life." "Entitled?" Colbert seized on the word. "That's interesting. Some might say it's entitled to expect privacy when you're dating one of the most famous women in the world. Kylie Jenner isn't exactly known for being low-key, is she?" The audience went silent. This wasn't playful banter anymore. "I'm not going to discuss Kylie," Timothée said flatly. "That's a boundary I made clear to your producers." Colbert's eyebrows shot up. "Oh, so we have boundaries now? I don't remember Paul Atreides being so concerned about boundaries when he was leading a holy war." "Paul Atreides is a fictional character," Timothée replied, his patience clearly wearing thin. "I'm a real person, and yes, I have boundaries." "It's just interesting," Colbert continued, "how you young actors want all the benefits of fame, the movie deals, the magazine covers, the adoration, but none of the scrutiny." Timothée stared at Colbert for a long moment. "Stephen, I came here as a courtesy. I came to talk about a film that hundreds of artists poured 3 years of their lives into. I thought The Late Show represented intelligent conversation. Was I mistaken?" Colbert's smile remained fixed. "I think you're being dramatic. I'm just asking questions your fans want answered." "My fans," Timothée repeated slowly. "Do you actually think they care more about who I'm dating than about the work? Or is that just what you need to believe to justify this?" The studio became a pressure cooker. Crew members exchanged worried glances. "Look," Colbert said, "I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable." "Yes, you are," Timothée interrupted. "That's exactly what you're doing. You're trying to make me uncomfortable enough to give you a soundbite that will go viral. That's what this is really about." Colbert's professional mask cracked. "I think you're overreacting to standard interview questions." "Standard?" Timothée laughed bitterly. "Let me ask you something. How would you feel if I spent the next 10 minutes asking about your marriage, your private struggles? Would that be standard?" "That's not the same thing," Colbert shot back. "Why not? Because I'm younger? Because I'm an actor? Help me understand the logic here." Colbert tried a different approach. "When you date someone like Kylie Jenner, someone whose entire life plays out in public, stop," Timothée said, holding up his hand. I didn't come here to discuss Kylie. Either we talk about Dune, or I walk off this set right now. Your choice. The threat hung in the air. Colbert's face hardened. You think you can come on my show and dictate terms? That's pretty arrogant. Timothée stood up slowly. I'm not dictating terms. I'm setting boundaries. If you can't respect them, then yeah, I'm leaving. Sit down, Colbert ordered. We're not done here. Actually, Timothée replied calmly, I think we are. You know what's sad? I used to respect your work. I thought you were one of the smart ones, but I guess I was wrong. Colbert stood now too, his face reddening. You don't get to lecture me about journalism. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. And that's supposed to make this better? Timothée asked. That you've had all those years to learn, and this is still what you choose? Your generation thinks you're entitled to everything, Colbert said, his voice rising. You want the fame and money, but don't want to pay the price. No, Timothée replied. My generation thinks we're entitled to basic human dignity. And if that's too much to ask, maybe the problem isn't with us. You're making millions playing pretend, and you want to talk about dignity? Colbert scoffed. And you're making millions asking invasive questions, Timothée fired back. At least what I do requires talent. The audience gasped. Timothée had crossed a line, but he didn't seem to care. Talent? Colbert's voice was dangerously loud. You think staring at a camera while riding a sandworm takes talent? I think if you'd actually watched the films, Timothée said quietly. If you'd done any preparation, you'd know there's more to it. But you didn't prepare. You just knew you wanted to ask about Kylie. Colbert pointed an accusatory finger. I know all about your Oscar campaigns, your carefully crafted persona, your strategic relationship choices. Strategic relationship choices? Timothée repeated slowly. Did you just imply my relationship is a publicity stunt? Silence. Colbert had gone too far, and he knew it. But pride wouldn't let him back down. Everything in Hollywood is strategic. You know it, I know it. Timothée took a step closer. Let me be very clear. My relationships are personal. They're not strategic. They're not calculated. And they're not fodder for your failing show. Failing? Colbert sputtered. Here you are, desperately manufacturing a viral moment because you can't create compelling content on your own. Timothée said. Congratulations, Stephen. You're about to get your viral moment, just not the one you wanted. Colbert tried to laugh it off. Timothée, calm down. You're making a scene over nothing. Over nothing? Timothée's voice finally rose. You spent 15 minutes violating my privacy, questioning my integrity, dismissing my work, and now you're gaslighting me? I am not manipulating anyone, Colbert snapped. You're too sensitive to handle real questions. Real questions? Timothée smiled coldly. Okay, when was the last time you actually watched one of my films? Not a trailer, the actual film. Colbert opened his mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought, Timothée continued. You haven't, because if you had, you'd have actual questions about the work. But you don't care about the work. You just care about gossip. He reached for his microphone. You know what? I'm done here. Timothée, wait, Colbert said, panic finally creeping into his voice. Let's start over. Start over? Timothée was already unhooking the mic. You can't reset after showing who you really are. The audience wants to hear about Dune, Colbert tried desperately. Timothée looked at the audience. I would have loved to tell you about Dune, about Denis' visual language, about Paul's moral complexity, about working with these legendary actors. But your host decided that wasn't interesting enough. He decided gossip was better. He turned back to Colbert. So here's your controversy. A guest who's had enough. A guest who's tired of being treated like a commodity. A guest who's saying what every actor thinks but is too afraid to say. You're going to regret this, Colbert threatened. This is career suicide. Timothée actually laughed. Career suicide? I just finished the biggest sci-fi trilogy of the decade. I'll be fine. The question is, will you? Because this interview will be everywhere tomorrow, and you're not going to look good. He set the microphone on the chair. The worst part? I believed in what The Late Show used to represent. Smart comedy, thoughtful conversations. But those days are gone. Colbert's face cycled through emotions. Anger, embarrassment, Defiance. You think you're better than this show? Better than me? I think everyone deserves better than what you've become, Timothée said. Your audience deserves better. Your guests deserve better. And the guy who used to work for Jon Stewart wouldn't recognize what you're doing here. That hit home. Don't you dare bring Jon into this, Colbert said, shaking with rage. Why not? Do you think he'd be proud of this? I'm genuinely curious. The silence was excruciating. Finally, Colbert spoke coldly. Get off my set. Timothée nodded. I was already leaving. As he turned to go, Colbert couldn't resist. You'll wake up tomorrow and realize what you've done. Timothée paused. No, Stephen. You're the one who's going to realize. The difference is, I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. And with that, Timothée Chalamet walked off The Late Show, leaving behind a stunned audience, a fuming host, and one of the most explosive moments in late-night television history. The cameras kept rolling as Colbert stood there, struggling to salvage the situation. Well, he said with a strained smile, I guess we need to go to commercial early tonight. But everyone knew this wasn't something that could be fixed with a commercial break. The mask had slipped, and nothing would ever be quite the same. So there you have it. The complete breakdown of how Timothée Chalamet walked off The Late Show after one of the most explosive confrontations in late-night history. What started as routine promotion turned into a masterclass in setting boundaries and refusing to play the old celebrity game. Was Timothée right to walk off, or should he have handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit subscribe for more celebrity interview breakdowns, and let me know what other confrontations you'd like covered. Because sometimes the most interesting moments happen when celebrities stop playing it safe and start speaking their truth.